Welcome. My name's Lisa Aiken. I'm the city's Human Resources Manager, and we are here today to help you understand and provide an informational session about the recent information that was distributed to all retirees. So what we have for you that we've distributed is a packet of information, and on our agenda, we're going to review the city ordinance and look at the information that we presented to you. So on July 8th, there was a letter that was sent out to all retirees advising of the new ordinance that had been recently passed. And in that informational material, we provided you with the options of what the city is looking at and has actually passed as part of that ordinance. So today's session is really just information. You're not going to make any decisions today, and we'll go through that decisions won't need to be made for some time. We're taking over a year to go through and educate every retiree. We want to make sure that we talk to every retiree. And so that's why we had you sign in. We want to make sure that we record who was here today. And we will be making sure that we reach out to all the retirees that we have on file. Now, it's really important that if you're going to be moving, or if you have a change of address, or you're going to be out of town for a time period, that you notify PERS, because that's where we're getting the address information from. We have sent some information out, and it's been returned because people are gone for long periods of time doing what retirees should be doing. So just keep in mind that we will be communicating with you on a regular basis over the course of the next year. So the Human Resources Director, Gail Satchwell, is leading this charge and has worked really closely with RCOR. RCOR has been working with the city for probably the last 5 years to go through this. So today, I've got Lori Benitez, who's the RCOR president, and Pam DeRocher, who's the RCOR vice president, with me as well. They can speak on behalf of RCOR. So our agenda is to go through the timeline, talk about the option that you have for this irrevocable election, and get questions from you about the process and anything that you might be concerned with. I will do my best to answer all the questions today, and if we're not able to answer your questions, we will definitely take those questions, make note of those, and get back with you in writing in some of that communication that we're doing. We had our first session about a month ago. It was well attended, and we have had a couple of questions that we need to follow up on as well. So we're going to have this session, and we have one more session scheduled for next month. If you do have questions, I ask that you come up to the podium and ask those questions into the microphone so that we can all hear those questions, and that those who are watching this session can also hear your question and the answers as well. So on the agenda, I think one of the most frequent questions we got after the first session was, what tier am I in? And so you'll see on the agenda that we posted what each unit, the dates that represent what tier you are in. So for most people in the room, I would presume you're in tier 1. And so that's important when we read through the ordinance. So I just wanted to make you aware that that's the tier that you're in, if in fact the dates correspond with when you were hired, then that's the tier that you're in. Does that make sense? Excellent. Everyone's nodding yes at this point. Okay, so let's take a minute to go through the ordinance. Part of the information that we sent out, or that we handed out, was in the packet was the agenda, was the letter that we sent out, and then the ordinance. And so one of the reasons that this became important was that the city was taking measures to cap its OPEB liability. And when working with CalPERS in getting the PEMCA minimum, which is part of the whole legislation that's being passed as part of the ACA and the medical insurance element. So if you look at, I've highlighted some things in the ordinance that I want to make sure that we cover. So under 3.09.010, the city offers retiree medical insurance to former city employees through its contract with CalPERS. There's no intention of changing that, so we're maintaining our contract with CalPERS to offer medical insurance during retirement. When you look at 3.09.020, there's categories for current and former employees who qualify for that optional benefit. So employees eligible for Tier 1 or Tier 2 retiree medical contributions are permitted to waive participation in the retiree medical benefit described in your MOU. So historically, whatever was negotiated in the MOU is the same thing that retirees received in terms of medical contributions. What this is doing and saying is that we're going to provide you with an option. You can remain tied to the MOU if you choose, or you can take this irrevocable election. So let's go a little bit further in that bottom paragraph. It says they'll be permitted to elect the benefit described in section 3.09.030 instead of their MOU defined benefit, and that this will take place January 1st of 2017. So we've got a whole year for you to think about this and decide what's in your best interest and what you would like to do. Remain tied to the MOU, getting the amounts that are negotiated in the contracts, or take an irrevocable election to have a flat amount that's represented in the handout that we gave you. Okay, so let's go to page 2, section B. So current city employees or future retirees will be permitted to elect, I'm kind of midway into the paragraph there, they'll be permitted to elect those benefits, just as I talked about, upon retirement. So we don't want you, a current employee, to have to make that decision. You all remember what it was like when you were retiring. There's parties, it's a lot of information, a lot of things that you have to decide on. And so we're allowing a future retiree the opportunity to elect that optional benefit up to the time that they get their first retiree medical payment. So they'll have a few days after that, sometimes up to a month, to make that decision. That doesn't affect anyone here in this room because you're all current retirees. The paragraph after that indicates that either current retirees or future retirees that opt to receive benefits under that section will be required to sign an irrevocable election form. And that's a document that you'll sign telling us that you are choosing to take the option of either staying tied to the MOU or, I'm sorry, we are not going to have, the form's not going to have if you're staying tied to the MOU. The form is only if you're choosing to go onto the schedule at this point. And again, the form's in draft, so it has not been finalized, but the draft form that we have, it would be that you would be signing a form that will tell us you're choosing to go with the new, to be untied from the MOU. So I should say that is something that could change. There may be a form required one way or the other. But at this point in time, we don't have the form, the election form, finished. We're working with our core The city's got a draft done, and we're working with RCOR to go through that. So the election agreement will waive all rights to their former Tier 1 or Tier 2 city contribution and shall no longer be subject to any future changes in the MOU. So the election form, the way it reads is the election form would be completed if, in fact, you choose to be untied from the MOU. Does that make sense? Okay. So in section 3.09.030, the optional retiree benefit, so effective date would be January 1, 2017. And that would be when the irrevocable election agreement would need to be in for that time period and the future, any future time. You would be electing to receive benefits under the section, and you'll receive a monthly reimbursement by the city for retiree medical insurance premiums as described below. So if you're in Tier 1, it shows that those who qualify for Tier 1, which I'm presuming a majority of you in the room are, you're eligible to receive up to $1,296 per month for your retiree medical insurance premiums, less the PEMCA minimum and any Medicare supplement. If the retiree medical insurance premium is less than the $1,296, the retiree will only be reimbursed the amount of the actual premium less the PEMCA minimum and any Medicare supplement. That's the same as it is now. And for Tier 2 employees, it's just what schedule they're on and how much they get from, you'll see the vesting schedule on page 3. So it's very similar. It's the same thing you're getting now. It's just whether or not you're going to remain tied to the MOU and what's bargained, or whether you'll go with the $1,296 flat rate effective 1/1/17 with a 2% annual escalator thereafter. So if you look on page 3, under the vesting schedule, the paragraph that says, for those opting to receive benefits, the amount of the city's reimbursement will increase by 2%, rounded to the nearest dollar. Retirees are not eligible to receive any amount in excess of the actual retiree medical premium. And to receive and remain eligible for the reimbursement by the city, the retirees must remain enrolled in a CalPERS health plan and be subject to the PEMCA minimum at all times. And then on the bottom, the notice, the city will give you advance notice, 60 calendar days, if there's any changes to this ordinance. And any repeal or change by the city council would require a 4/5 vote of the council. So those are the important elements of the ordinance that I thought I should highlight. So are there any questions from the group in terms of what's there? Come on forward to the podium and ask your questions.
All right. Let's go back to,
Speak into the microphone for me, Kurt.
have to get my glasses off so I can read.
Okay.
I have weird eyes. Okay, I'm looking at the city ordinance 3.09.030,
Okay.
paragraph A, tier 1. And at the bottom of the first paragraph, it says the retiree will only be reimbursed for the amount of the actual premium less than the PEMCA minimum and any Medicare supplement. So the question is, for the retirees, is the city paying the minimum plus what the Medicare supplement costs?
No, your Medicare supplement comes out of your comes out of your check currently, correct? That's my understanding.
I'm
That
not
that
65 yet, so I don't know.
Aha. Okay, so once you get 65, that Medicare supplement is taken out of the Social Security check.
I won't
Comes out
get
of the
much
Social
Social Security. Won't get a check at all, in fact.
Okay, so you hadn't contributed to Social
Because I
Security.
worked so many years for the city.
Gotcha.
Maybe somebody in the audience can answer this question, but it's your Part B premium
Oh, the
Correct. The Part B premium.
that you have to start paying when you enroll in Medicare. And it's
Uh-huh.
normally taken directly out of your Social Security payment. Now, for those that would not receive a Social Security payment, I'm assuming they then have to pay Social Security that premium.
Correct.
I
That would be
believe
my
they get a
assumption as
bill
well.
From Social Security that
Right.
on every 3 months or something like that.
Okay. So yes, you'd still have to make that payment. That is, the city is not making that payment.
Okay, so maybe I'm confused a little bit because I know that once you turn 65 and get on Part B, then you have a supplemental insurance.
Correct.
Like in my case, I have the PERS care.
Correct.
So as I recall, the supplemental insurance, whether you're on Kaiser, PERS care, PERS choice, whatever, it's the same amount.
So once you hit 65, the Medicare supplement, this is my understanding. So if anyone experiences anything different, please speak up. But my understanding is once you hit 65, the Medicare supplement is less of a premium, and you need to pay the Medicare B to Social Security.
Mm-hmm.
So your medical premiums will show you, on the health documents that we have, let's say you're paying, I don't know, $800 right now, and you're not 65. Once you hit 65, that premium may go down to, let's say, $500. If it goes down, that's the amount that the city is going to be paying. Whatever premium that you are paying for your medical coverage is what the city will pay, less the PEMCA minimum and less the Medicare supplement. So we just wanted to be clear that the
So-
city has not contracted to pay that Medicare supplement piece.
So in this case, Medicare supplement means the Part B premium payment.
Right. And in the last
Okay.
session, what we heard is it ranges depending on what your salary was. So some folks said they were paying $104 a month. Some people said they were paying $112 a month. So from what I understand, there's about $100 payment that you'll be responsible for as part of the Medicare supplement piece when you reach 65 and older.
Okay.
Well, I have a question then, but so that Medicare supplement premium is not actually deducted out of the premium you're reimbursing?
No.
'Cause
But we're
that's kind
not-
of how it reads.
Well, okay, but what we're trying to be clear, should I repeat that question? So the question was, it's not clear about the Medicare, talking to the mic and say you're,
It says less the PEMCA minimum, which the PEMCA minimum is the amount the city is paying directly to CalPERS toward our premium.
correct.
But then it says less the Medicare supplement. But you're not actually deducting that from the reimbursement.
No, we're
It's
just
you're
stating
not being responsible
that
for
we are not paying that amount. It's just like currently, if you're 65 currently, the city is not paying the Medicare supplement Part B. And so that's not going to change. So we just wanted to be clear that that was the only piece is being reimbursed is the premium amount that you're paying for your medical coverage. Okay, Any questions other than Medicare supplement?
I think Rita had one.
Morning. I didn't see in there when and how the reimbursement
Up to the mic
is
for me.
when and how the reimbursement is actually paid to the retiree. It said monthly, but
So,
when is it late? What do we do if it's late?
Gotcha. So when is the reimbursement? So those are really good questions, I have to tell you. We are working diligently with PERS. Legislatively, CalPERS can only pay what our contract states. So we would be responsible for paying CalPERS the PEMCA minimum. So the other amount, we would be responsible to pay you, the retirees. It's our understanding that other agencies that have gone through this have had great success and have coordinated that reimbursement to the retirees prior to the retirement check coming in from PERS, so that you do not see any lapse in the amount that you're getting in your checks. So when you get your retiree checks, it's going to be a seamless process. You'll get one from PERS and you'll get one from the city.
Separate payments.
Separate payments. Now, I'm leaving this somewhat slightly open because that's not the city's preference. And so we're working to figure out a way to do this differently. We have a year and 3 months to see if we can do it differently. So I don't really want to get into how that payment piece is happening, because this is just really about the irrevocable election process. But believe me, there's a reason why we've selected to have informational sessions with the retirees, and we will be continuing to have these sessions and communication with you, because there are some things that are going to be changing over the next year and a half, and we want to make sure you're fully informed. So legislatively, PERS can only do it one way. We don't necessarily like that particular way, but other agencies have done it that way. We may be required to do it that way, but in the meantime, we're going to work to see if there's an alternate way that we can get those payments to you.
For purposes of discussion, I'm going to assume that Roseville won't be able to change the way that PERS does it. And so if we do receive separate payments, I'd like to ask that they be available by direct deposit.
That is absolutely our preference
great.
as well. Thank you. Yes. So
Okay, I may be misinterpreting some of this, but as an example, I'm in Tier 1. I have 100%
Right.
benefit, so to speak.
Reimbursement.
So if I take, it says $12.96 as the cap, less PIMCA minimum.
Mm-hmm.
How much is the PIMCA minimum?
So it's going to change annually. At least that's our understanding from PERS. So for 2016, we know it's $125.
Okay, so my
I think
actual.
this year it was 122. So
Okay.
if that gives you some sort of,
Okay, so the actual benefit amount that I would receive from the city is the $12.96 minus 125, so it's really 1171.
so the amount, it depends on what your premium is for the insurance that you're taking.
Uh-huh.
So if in fact you
Oh, it's in
only have
excess of that, so.
it's in excess of that. Okay, well then, yes. So if your premium is higher than the $12.96, you'll get the $12.96 less the PEMCA minimum.
So
And-
1171.
Correct.
Okay,
And then just recognize that the Medicare supplement is the responsibility of the retiree as well.
okay, and this is the other part that I'm confused about because I'm not
65, yep.
Correct.
Okay.
We talk about Medicare premium versus Medicare supplement, and I guess my question is, when I go to Medicare, what, if anything, of the city's premium contribution that I get right now will go to what? I mean, will it go to?
So I'm going to defer Medicare questions for a separate meeting, because I think you have really good questions about the Medicare piece. We had good questions in the last session as well. And so I think what we need to do is really get that piece dialed in terms of the reimbursement, and the Medicare is a separate piece of all of this.
Because I'm kind of confused on what I've heard so far with the last questions regarding Medicare, because at one point it sounds like when you go on Medicare, the city stops doing anything.
No,
and then it sounded like
No.
something is paid.
Let
so.
me clarify, the city does not stop doing anything when you
Okay.
go on Medicare. I'm on record for that. So
Okay.
how's that? We don't stop anything.
We
What-
just,
What will happen, Charlie, is when you go on, when you hit 65 and since Medicare takes over your primary, it becomes a supplement, your insurance, and the city will continue to pay that. It's just going to be considerably cheaper for the
Okay.
city. Right now, Bev McDougall, who is one of our board members, is over 65. The city pays, I believe, $364 for her plan. And she has the premium Blue Cross HMO or PPO, so
Okay.
it's still being paid, it's just less money.
Got
And
a
I'm
lot less.
and I'm not trying to avoid the topic, because I think
Right.
it's definitely a session we need to have. One of the members came in, someone here today came in and had an informational letter from PERS about them changing that whole the options. And so I really think if we're going to do an informational session about that, we need to be fully dialed in and have the right people in the room to talk about all of that. So I again, am not trying to avoid answering the questions. I just think that needs to be a special session right on that, so that we can educate everyone and have everyone prepared to talk about that.
Okay.
Does that
And
make sense?
yeah. And then the last question, how do we find out what our current associations are getting as far as a benefit amount? Because we're being asked to make a comparison, so.
Yeah,
You can go to the website, the city website, and it has the MOUs
Oh,
under
okay. All right.
HR, and it
Okay.
will tell you the amount there.
yeah.
Great.
But I actually have some copies for those of you that are interested. I didn't bring enough. Oh, see, Charlie gets a copy because he's here. Okay. Any other questions about the irrevocable election form, the ordinance, the intent behind it?
You knew I was getting up, didn't you?
I did, John Palmer,
Yes.
yes.
Which employee bargaining group am I in? The one I retired under?
Yes.
Or the one that I worked the longest under?
The one you retired under, or the one you worked the longest under? That's an interesting question. Which two units did you work in
For RFF and the management.
for management? So it's based on your date of hire. Are you looking for what tier you're in?
No, I'm looking for what bargaining group. I go look at the MOU to see what my
What the
current
contribution amount
yes.
is? Which one you retired from?
Okay. Could you put together a pros and cons sheet for which way I should look at going? In other words, right now I've got some information about this. I don't know the history of it, so I don't know for sure, who's supporting us. I imagine our cores work with the city, so I've got, unilateral support from both the retirees
Yeah.
and from the city. And I understand it's, so we can maintain insurance.
Yeah.
But the big question is, why are there two choices now? And if there's two choices, there's somebody on one side saying this is better for us, and the other one's going, this one's better for us.
So
What's the pros and
city-
cons?
Right.
How do I make
What
a
I'd like
choice?
to do is turn it over to Lori Benitez for her to explain. As I said, they came to us probably 5 years ago and started the discussions. Arcor did. So let's let Lori talk a little bit about the history.
Hi, John. what our concerns were 5 years ago and even prior to me getting involved is the economy is changing. The cities are changing as far as they want to reduce their liability for medical. And that was a big issue. The city had concerns. We had concerns because we didn't want to lose our medical coverage. What this ordinance does is it allows us to choose to either stay or to go. Our concern with staying with the unions is as Tier 3 people go to the bargaining table, because mostly everyone here is Tier 1, Tier 2, so we have no control over what the unions do. There really isn't anything that can keep us tied to the unions if they wanted to say, well, I can get a 5% salary increase if we don't give the retirees their medical. So, and I totally understand they need the money, we're retired. We will be kind of out of their mind, and they may not be as concerned about us as we would like. And what this does is it pretty much ties us into the city that we will be able to keep our medical, and if the union chooses to say, I'm sorry, Lori, but I want a 5% increase, and I can't do it if I pay your retiree medical, so you're out. So, and Pam can elaborate. We've been watching cases that have gone, retirees have lost their medical in Southern California, and when they went to court and said, well, look, it's in my MOU that they promised me, the courts have said, sorry, the MOU doesn't cut it. So we had some really big concerns about we did not want to be in that position.
Yeah, the MOU process, things change all the time. And as cities and government agencies have tried to kind of reconstruct their benefit programs, like the creation of Tier 3, in order to bring their liabilities down and curb costs, it's allowing for them to do a lot more creative benefit structuring. So the old days of negotiations every year, the medical premium contribution would get raised and retirees would all benefit from that, may no longer be the case going forward. They may be putting that money into different types of accounts and things.
The flex spending.
And we're not at the table.
Yeah,
So.
That kind of on that same line.
Uh-huh.
We somewhat are at the table right now, and an irrevocable signature on my part always makes me very nervous. I'd like to have an irrevocable signature on something that can be negotiated by us in the future, because right now I see it as something that the council could change at their whim with a 4-to-5 vote.
4/5 vote. And that's why our core asked to have that piece structured in the ordinance. And ordinances can change. That's not the city's intent at this moment or the current council's intent at this moment. So they just passed this. They are very supportive of this effort. To allow you the option is up to you, though. The city can't provide you with the pros and cons for you, because each person in this room may have different, preferences in terms of how strongly they're affiliated with their union or not, or how, if they feel more comfortable being with a set schedule or taking some risk. And so it's really a personal choice that you'll have to evaluate in terms of your situation and what you feel most comfortable with.
And the reality is there was no way to put anything in place that was concretely set in stone. So what we tried to do was structure the ordinance, and the city was, very accommodating with us, that you as an individual retiree are going to get a 60-day notice if they're going to try, if for whatever reason a change to this ordinance is proposed. And it will take a majority vote of council in order to get it changed. And what I can tell you is, in the lobbying and the work we've done with the city in the last 5 years, should you get a notice that they're proposing a change to this ordinance, we can rally and approach the city with our concerns and once again work with them. So at least it gives us some opportunity, like you said, to be at the table.
Does that help?
A little. Thank you.
Good.
At the outset of the meeting, you had said that the city has no intention of leaving CalPERS medical insurance. But if, say, 7 years from now, the situation changes and that happens, it appears that the set amount is tied to people being covered by CalPERS insurance. If the city leaves, then does this set amount stop? Set contribution towards medical insurance.
There are a ton of what-if scenarios we could go through today. And so I can't speak to what may happen in the future.
That would be one of those things, though, that would trigger a change to this ordinance.
Absolutely.
Because they would have to change this ordinance in order to do that.
Okay.
Right.
So you would be noticed.
But we can't necessarily assume that this dollar amount would go towards another type of insurance or insurance program. It
We
really
can't
is tied
not
to
assume
CalPERS.
that either.
Okay.
So how's
It's
that?
up in the
for
air.
being-
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, it's very difficult. I mean, even in the negotiation process with the, with the MOUs and the various different contracting, it's hard to tell you what's going to happen in the next round of negotiations or in 3 to 5 years. And so at this point in time, this is where we're at and this is what we're looking at and are, committed to helping everybody understand and process. And again, informational sessions, we will be having many of them over the next year. So please keep coming back. I know we have some returnees from the first session that are here as well, just to hear the information again. We'll have another session next month.
This may be along the line of what ifs, but the Cadillac tax, the Obamacare, has anybody thought about how that's going to affect this whole deal?
We just read the article like 2 days ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
We'll look into it.
2018 and there's no legislation written in terms of how that's all going to fly. We just had a session yesterday, an informational session, and it may change things. So you're right, it is a what if. We don't know.
Okay.
We know it's coming, but we just don't know who's paying for it.
A couple questions. So this will be an ordinance which, as you pointed out, could be changed by 4/5 vote of the council. So in other words, the entitlement that the employees have retired to this certain amount of money to health benefits could be changed. Would the council be agreeable to put it into the charter so it couldn't be changed by 4/5 vote?
The ordinance is as written.
No, I
And-
understand that.
Right. And so at this point in time, this is what the city is comfortable putting
Yeah,
forward.
but you're kind of asking us to sign something in perpetuity, an agreement either one way or the other, to a bargaining unit.
No, we're providing you with an option. You
Right.
can currently stay as you are if you're more comfortable with that, or you can take a set schedule with a 2% escalator per year.
Okay.
And so.
Well, no, I asked a question, and I'm just asking if it would be put in the charter, then it couldn't be changed so easily. So that was a question.
Gotcha. I know
Because
that there
the
is-
town's been the city's been very good historically in providing retired employees the health benefit.
Right.
Like you say, there's been a change in looking at health benefits throughout the state of California, and the trend is to get away from this. This plan here at least ensures the town knows, or the city knows exactly how much money each year they would have to put into it. So it's just a
Right.
thought. The other thought is, since I'm on Medicare, I know what Medicare covers, and right now for my wife and I, and she's not on Medicare, I think it's $638 for the top Blue Cross Blue Shield plan. So what I was going to ask, I don't know if you have the figures from what it is when you have two employees both on Medicare, because I just wanted to make sure the $1,200 covered covered the thing. So the $1,200 would more than adequately cover.
I'll give
And-
you this sheet.
Okay, thanks. And
Because
then
it's
the other
gonna
question, and I'm sorry, I thought this was just a walk-in and ask a question thing. I didn't know it was
Oh,
a
no
session.
problem.
You mentioned there's some change about medical coverage or with CalPERS.
That the options that they're going to provide for Medicare. So someone had gotten a letter,
Options in the sense of,
what types of plans that they're offering for Medicare.
oh, okay.
So I don't have that letter. Someone just shared it with me today, that they just got a letter. So I can't really
Who
speak
got
to
the
it.
letter and how'd you get it?
Okay,
From, oh, maybe I'll get it tomorrow.
yeah, so.
Because I'm in Loomis, takes a long time.
There's always things changing, and that's why you brought up a really good point, that if you would like to sit down with one of us one-on-one and talk, that is an option. If you would like to attend another meeting, come on back. We are open to hearing your questions. I love being challenged. I love learning new things. So when you ask me questions that I don't have the answer to, I will find them out for you. So, we need to be fully educated in this process, and we need to help you be fully educated in this process. And that's what the sessions are designed to do.
So right now, the way I see it is if I choose the flat rate and don't go with a bargaining unit, right now I'm paying, let's say, $700 a month and I get $1,200. So probably regardless of how much insurance costs escalate before I die, that money will probably, because there's a 2% escalate, will probably cover the insurance. So that's basically a guarantee. If I go with a bargaining unit, you're right, they
There
could
are no
bargain out.
guarantees in
Okay.
life. I got to tell you that. I can't
Okay.
guarantee that you're gonna have full coverage, for
Yeah.
your premium.
And Mike, in response to your question about the charter, we did explore that early on in discussions, and really, it wasn't a viable option.
Well, I know it ties the hands of the existing council to,
And going by way of this ordinance and putting it in the muni code was the best option we
yeah,
found
good.
available.
No, that's fine, thank you so much.
Any other questions?
What paper?
Oh, this paper. You're welcome.
Hi,
Hi, Chris.
Christy Stevens. Looking at 3.09.030, and where they're talking about by the city, the retiree medical insurance premiums will be reimbursed. Right now, it's pretty seamless for me.
Correct.
It's just taken out of the check that
Correct.
I receive. So are you saying now we're going to be totally separate from that? I hear you saying we're receiving, so that means we're on the open market buying our medical?
No. The reimbursement, this ties back to the previous conversation that we had about the way, because we've contracted with PERS to provide the PEMCA minimum. That contract with PERS requires that we pay them the PEMCA minimum. Currently, we pay your whole premium because we pay the medical insurance with PERS. That piece is potentially changing. It is going to change. Legislatively, PERS can only reimburse us for what we're contracted for. And so we would then need to reimburse the retirees for their medical premiums. So we're trying to see if there's an alternate way to make it seamless for you as you experience it right now. But that may change. So we may have to reimburse you separately. And that was when Brita asked the question, could that be done direct deposit? So
Right.
other agencies have already gone through this process, and that's what they're having to do. But we're hoping that we might be able to do something creative with PERS.
So PERS would be reducing our benefit
Yes.
check.
Our
So you are making a deposit to make up for that.
Correct, is what-
Okay.
Yeah.
We don't want that, but
That may be
That
what
may
happens,
happen.
and that's a whole nother informational session. Can you imagine how many times we're going to get together over the next year?
Thank you.
You're
Very
welcome. Rory, this is like old home week. I get to see everybody I haven't seen for a while.
I just want to know, can we try staying with the MOU for a while and then change, say, in a couple of years down the road, or is it you have to make a choice by 2017?
You need to make a choice,
Okay, one way or the other.
one way or the other. Thank you for the question, though.
we understand, our Corps understands that it's scary either way. And there's possible risks either way. It's like what Lisa said, it's what you feel you're comfortable with. You know, we, as our core, we can't say, we think you should do this, or we think you should do that, because it's your personal choice. And there's going to be possible risks either way. So nothing is for sure positive forever. We just think the option of, or having the option is great. And
it's just similar to when you make that irrevocable election when you retire, which PERS product, whether you take 2 or 2W or option, which option you take with PERS. So that's an irrevocable election as well. And so it's the same premise, that you're making that decision on how you want to handle this piece of your retirement.
And, you know, the city, things are changing so quickly. Taxes, the health system, and we have no way of projecting what's coming down the road. And so obviously every little nuance of things that could come down legislatively from the federal government or whatnot, we have not been able to anticipate, and neither can the city.
No.
So we've done the best we can with what we know now. And, you know, there could be things that come down that affect whatever option you choose.
Yeah, Pam made the statement about taxes, and no one in this session has asked, is this taxable at this point in time? No. Will the, tax law change?
maybe.
Don't know.
Yeah.
So, again, we can only deal with the here and now, what we have to work with, and then hope that that works out in our best interest. Hi.
Hi, I'm Anna Warner, Jim Warner's wife,
Hi, Anna.
if he's not here. I had a couple of questions. I wasn't sure what your answer was when the one man asked if you would make a pro and con sheet about that for one of the next meetings.
I can't do a pro and con sheet because I don't know everyone's specific situations.
Can
So-
you make a general pro and con sheet?
No.
Okay, that's no. The MOU, where would we go on the website to find that?
To see what the current dollar amounts are that's being provided.
Yeah, and to
those?
see what the agreements were,
It's on the City of Roseville website.
and,
Under Human Resources Department?
okay.
Yeah, under the Human Resources Department, all the MOUs are listed there.
Okay, and I'm new to all this. What is the PMHCA?
PEMCA,
Yeah, what does that stand for?
I am going to take a wild stab here. Public Employers Medical Health Act.
Oh, okay.
And
I get-
hospital, and hospital, that's the
Oh,
H.
hospitalization, that's the H.
Yeah.
Hospital,
Okay.
Health and Hospitalization Act.
Yeah.
It's the law that governs CalPERS and how they operate.
Oh,
On
okay,
health.
that makes sense, yeah. And my biggest question is, why are we even here? Why did they decide to do these options?
Excellent question. And that is really because our core, the retiree group, came together and came to the city saying that they were interested, a group of retirees was interested in having an option. And so we worked with them to develop this option. So you can stay just the way you are, or you have the option of changing now.
Because of the environment, we had some concerns about our future medical retirement. We wanted to make sure that we didn't lose them.
Okay.
So that was our
And-
concern.
And so through that process, this is what we came to in order to provide us with a little bit more security. I mean, that was our whole goal.
Okay, well, thank you.
You're welcome.
That educated me.
Good.
So if the union local 39 votes that they don't want to pay the retirees medical, and they do this 4 years down the line, you're saying that we can't opt to the option that we're talking about? In other words, if we get dropped by the union, we just get dropped by the union, and then we're stuck.
So what we're offering you is the opportunity to make a decision one-time decision. That's the irrevocable election, to either stay tied to the union or to have the flat dollar amount of $12.96 with a 2% escalator. You make that decision prior to September 30th of 2016, and then you will, if in fact something happens in 4 years and you've chosen to stay tied to the MOU,
Yeah.
then you're tied to that. Whatever they negotiate, that's what you get.
So if
you
they
have not-
negotiate no medical for the retirees, then we have no medical for the retirees.
If that's what happens, yes. If you,
Gotcha.
yeah,
Okay, thank you.
you're welcome.
So you're asking us to make a decision based on a lot of feel-good words, like choose the option that you feel is best for you. Your own personal situation should determine what option you choose, but you're not giving us any kind of statistical information about making a better decision. So I would like to suggest that you give us access to some kind of historical reference to past MOUs and the decisions that have been made, you know, for us prior to this.
Okay.
So that we can look at data and make a good decision rather than making a decision based on how we feel we should choose which option
Okay.
is available
We've actually
to us.
have 10 years worth of data that we've
Great.
gathered in terms of the dollar amounts that have been negotiated for medical
Wonderful.
benefits. So that's available on, and I'll make sure that goes out, that it's up on.
Shoot
Were
it to
we
me.
gonna, oh, no, you want to put it on the ARCOR?
Yeah.
And I think we were going to put that in the next communication that we have to all retirees. So we'll make sure that gets in your informational material.
Thank you very much.
And also, as far as what other bargaining units and whether other cities have done, what we do is we Google cities that are in trouble, City of Stockton, City of San Bernardino, City of Riverside, and that's where we get our information that they, and especially City of Stockton, they have lost all of their medical
Sure.
because of the bankruptcy and, you know, so.
Right.
So
Well, make
here
it
you go.
easier. Make it easier for
I
the
apologize. I actually have some. I don't have enough for the whole group, but I do have
Great.
some. Michelle was kind enough to put together and has it here for me, and I apologize. I just didn't realize it was here.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
And the
Yeah,
other
some-
piece is you've got a little over a year, so you can, you know, contact your tax preparer or an attorney or, you know, to have, if you have specific questions about what some of the potential ramifications would be to your particular situation, you've got the time to do that, your own personal investigation to see.
So I guess what I'm asking is to make it easier for the retiree to look at some of the options that are available. A pro and con list, just in general, is actually a very good idea. I think that you've got enough information. I mean, you probably used that information to come to these two solutions. So I think that
Maybe
that should
it's-
be available.
I don't know.
wanna
Do you
do
want
that?
to, ARCOR, do you want to?
We will do that.
Yeah, I think it'd be an excellent idea.
Our
I
next-
get it.
Our next general membership meeting is,
October
for
29th.
ARCOR is October 29th, and it may be something that we can brainstorm at that session, if
Great.
people want to think about that.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Just kind of a hypothetical question.
I
You
love
say,
hypothetical questions, Mike.
you know, this decision has to be made by September 2016.
Right.
And sometimes people put things off. And there's a medical situation where you're in a nursing home or whatever, and you haven't made your decision by September. Is the city going to put them in the, like 2%? Are they going to keep them with the union? If no decision is made, what happens?
The irrevocable election would be to move from being tied to the MOU. So if we don't have a form that someone would choose to move to the 1296 with a 2% escalator, then they would stay tied to the MOU.
Okay, thank you.
Okay? I have to tell you, this group is got more questions than the first group. So I'm wondering if you were talking over the last month. Well, hello, Mr. Doan.
I don't see anything in the ordinance in how this is going to be funded. Is this going to be a general fund, pay-as-you-go situation?
Oh, stump Lisa. That's what he was trying to do. It's funded the same way. You can answer that?
Yeah,
I was going to say that.
we got it covered.
Right now, it's going to continue to be pay-as-you-go. And all the medical benefits are going to continue to be pay-as-you-go until our trust is fully funded, and they can then start pulling from that trust, which is, I may not live to see that. But, so yes, it's going to continue to be pay-as-you-go.
But the trust has been established.
The trust is
It
established.
has been
I'm sorry.
established. We've got about,
Contributions are
Yes.
on,
They've
depending
started to
on what's
fund
going
it.
on.
yeah, it's being funded. We've got about 55 million in there right now.
$892. We just had a meeting yesterday. We're dialed
you.
in.
Thanks.
You're welcome. See? I got
And just a side note, when Al Johnson put the money aside for the OPEB trust, it was 34 million, and now we have 55 million in, I believe it was 5 years, 4 years. So we have a great return,
2011.
almost 9% a year. So, yeah, it's pretty cool.
Just a simple question.
Okay.
I did purchase the PERS 5 years. How does that count on my retirement net credited service?
This has
Or does
no
it?
effect
Okay,
on your
so-
service credit. This is completely separate.
So what is my service credit? Say I spent 10 years here and I bought 5. What's my credited service?
Oh, which tier you're in? Is that what you're
No,
asking?
I know I'm in tier 1.
Okay, because you started
in
before.
95.
So this has nothing to do with your service credit. This in no way affects your retirement at all, your retirement payment. This is a separate, this is all about the medical insurance
Okay, but
piece.
where do I find myself in the list of what my credited service is? If I had 25 years service, I'm fully funded.
Got you. So let's talk afterwards and we
Okay.
can get that
Because
information.
I'm sure other people in the same situation.
Okay.
Well, if you're in tier 1,
You're 100%
you're 100%
funded.
funded anyway.
If you're in tier 2, then
That's
you
when it's
are
a percentage.
on the vesting schedule. So, and this might help. On the irrevocable election form that we've created, we've actually got your name, what tier you're in. So we're pulling that information from, and it will have the current dollar amounts that you're currently paying. So we're pulling information out of the system to have on the form so that you'll know where you are.
Because that is a total mystery at this point.
Okay. Well, yeah, let's you and I talk afterwards and we'll
Okay.
help you get that info. Any other questions?
I had a question about the PEMCA minimum.
Yes.
Let's say I get $1,000 for medical. That $125 would be taken out of the $1,000? I'm not sure, what does that PEMCA go to towards?
So the city contracts with PERS, and this is also a change that's going to happen effective January 2017. So we're contracting with them to pay the PEMCA minimum. So that money isn't going to you.
Yes.
You're being reimbursed for your medical insurance less that payment that we've made to PERS. And then you're also paying your Medicare Part B supplement, if you're 65 or older, to Social Security. How'd I do?
Okay.
I think I got that dialed in.
What does the PEMCA go towards? What is it used for?
The premium.
The premium.
It's your premium.
It's the contract with PERS to have that medical insurance, but it's also the amount that is the minimum amount by law that we have to pay for affordable care, medical insurance, and all of things that we don't really need to get into right here because that'll open up a whole nother can of worms.
The city historically contracts with PERS to provide our health care, and under their current contracts with PERS, they pay the full amount, up to what's ever in your bargaining group. When they make this change to what's called the PEMCA minimum, the contract with PERS then says they're only going to pay PERS whatever that minimum is, which right now is 120 something a month, toward your premium. So PERS is going to take the remainder of your premium out of your retirement check, and then the city's going to reimburse us. So you're made whole. It's all going toward your premium. It's just that now they're not paying the whole premium to PERS. They're just paying that contracted minimum amount toward your premium. And you're responsible to PERS for the rest.
Yeah, okay, thank you.